Here is part 2 of Homesick in Portugal.
Make connections. We found that in our area, we just start talking to people. We start with a bom dia or a boa tarde.
Boa tarde.
And that would open the door because here they are, and they probably hear my accents really off, but I'm trying. And I found that the majority of people in Portugal, if they hear me trying to speak Portuguese, two things: they'll instantly know right away that I'm not from here because my accent is just off and I can't figure out what's wrong with that. But second is they're generally happy about it, that someone coming here is not just trying to talk English, they're actually trying to communicate in Portuguese. And I think that's important because the Portuguese are very proud people. They're proud of their heritage. They have a tremendous heritage and a tremendous history that goes back hundreds of years.
Making connections for us was so important. We started to immerse ourselves in the local culture. We started talking and meeting our neighbors. We started going to festivals. We started joining sports clubs just so we could get around people, meet them, make connections, and start to feel more at home in our new country of Portugal. One of the reasons we moved to Portugal was to slow down, to disconnect from the incredibly busy pace that we were living back in North America. But I do have to say that being able to connect via technology, whether that was on Zoom calls or Messenger or on some other platform, was an incredible blessing to us, especially in the beginning when we were really missing everything that we had left behind. Being able to connect with our family and friends and to have Zoom chats, whether that was for tea or coffee or drinks, was just incredibly comforting to us, knowing that we could talk with them, see them on video anytime we wanted to. As a parent, I wanted to make sure too that my kids were okay. And I think that part of that was bringing traditions that we would normally celebrate with us to Portugal. For example, when we first moved to Portugal, we had arrived here very close to Halloween, and we wanted to make sure that the kids love Halloween. It's always been something that they've done, and so we wanted to make sure that they were able to do some version of Halloween. So I knew that they weren't doing any sort of trick-or-treating. We had just gotten here a couple of days before. We had no real costumes, but Henry did have this rain poncho that kind of looked like a little bear. So we put that on him. We went for a walk. We actually went to the closest Spar grocery store. It was the biggest one that we knew at the time. And we went and we got a whole bunch of candy. So we got candy that night and we ate candy and we watched a whole bunch of movies, Halloween movies, including Hotel Transylvania.
Welcome to Hotel Transylvania.
And we just wanted to keep those kind of traditions alive for them, something that they were familiar with and that felt a little bit like home, even though it was slightly different. One of the things that I did that made me feel like we were more at home in Portugal was I filled the place in which we were staying with joy and intention. So what I mean by that is that I knew that we were in a certain place and we were renting our home and it wasn't necessarily ours, but I also knew that we were going to be staying here for a while. And so I bought things that were semi-permanent, things that helped me feel like I was putting roots down. I bought a tiny house plant from the Pingo Doce a couple of months into being in Portugal. And that helped me feel like I was building something here, putting down roots. I love plants. And when I bought this tiny plant, I knew that it was the intention of staying. And so I've had this tiny plant now with me for almost 2 years. And it was small enough so I knew that if we moved again, we could take it with us. But doing things like that, or getting throws or pillows, something that made my home feel like it was my own and that my personality was reflected in that, really helped us to feel like we were building something and starting a life anew in Portugal.
So don't resist feeling homesick. Let it happen. Let it come out. Express those feelings. And ultimately, once you give those feelings a voice, you're going to be able to put that behind you and be able to better adapt to your life today. When you're in a situation, you've just got to be in that situation. And it's better not to resist. It's better just to accept and then see how you're going to adapt to it. This is much like traveling. If you travel, don't think about what time it was in the time zone that you left. You're now in the new time zone. So that's where you are. So just start living from there. Adjusting to a new country takes time. You have to give yourself the grace to grow and adjust. And eventually, things will change. I remember it was probably about 6 months in when we finally started to recognize some of the different streets that we've been down, and we were able to drive places without a GPS. And then eventually, you get to know a little bit more and things start to connect, and it's a good feeling when you start to realize that, hey, this place really is becoming home. It's becoming something that I think maybe a little bit hard to put in words, but it certainly becomes more familiar and a lot more comfortable. And that's what Portugal is for us right now. Each day we like it more and more. Maybe sometime we'll buy a house. Who knows? Keep subscribed and follow our journey. All right, we'll see you in the next video.